Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back on the BKFC Reddit. Ask Me Anything. We're joined by Nathan the Reaper Rivera. How you doing?
That's right. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Good. I was like, I love Brian. When he kept calling you El Terror, I was like, do we see an El Terror, fight at 145? I thought, like, I had never heard the Reaper before, so like, I had no idea what your fight name was, but now it's good to clear up the Reaper.
Yeah, I was given that name by my first boxing coach. And he's from Red Hook. He's over here in Marietta, Georgia, and I still work with him time to time. And he just loved how it sounded, and I hated it. And then next thing you know, it stuck. I know I was announced that for my first BKFC fight, and then I was like, that sounds kind of weird. Like I'm not like I was like, well, I'll get rid of it for the second fight. But then I'm like, you know what? I think it's everyone just calls me Reaper, so I think I'm stuck with it now, and it'll be announced the third fight coming up here.
Awesome. What is it like getting to? I mean, like, you're already like a big name in the Georgia area. BKFC's going to Georgia. Like, is this a huge opportunity for you? Are you like, you welcome that being on your shoulders, or would you prefer to keep, traveling and fighting and kind of stay low key for right now?
I mean, it's an honor to be on the card, of course. And I know how business works. You want to get a return for your investment, and I'm an investment to BKFC, and this is where they can get their return, of course, with ticket sales and things like that. So I understand why they would want to put me on this card as far as tickets go and stuff like that. But I mean, there's different pressures going to different places. Like here, the pressures are like making sure your ducks are in a row with tickets, with everybody coming, kind of making sure everyone's sitting together. And then, there's different pressures when you go out of town, like where you're going to cut weight, hotel, travel, all these other things. So, I'm used to fighting home. I've had some amateur boxing fights out of town, but majority of my MMA fights, actually all of them pretty much, except for one, have been locally here in the States. So it feels familiar.
So I talked to some fighters, and I'm not going to say they're necessarily divas, but they say like when it's fight time, they're very difficult to be around. Are you somebody who's difficult to be around, or are you just Nathan? Like no matter what, all the time.
I mean, I think I wouldn't say difficult to be around. I definitely distance myself a little bit. Like I'll take more time to sit with myself outside, or I'll be a little bit less talkative. But I don't think I'm chomping at the bit like that necessarily to focus, because I know everybody around me, they care about me and they love me and they want to see me succeed. So for me to snap at one of them if I'm a little frustrated would do me no good at all.
Okay, so you are somebody like it's crazy, the younger generation. You got a lot of questions sent in. So this one comes from Liam O'Brien. He said he really wants to know what Rivera's fight plans are for the next 3 years. Did I lose you? Oh, did you get a phone call? I wonder if you got a phone call. Oh,
Hey,
you're
there
back.
you go. Oh, sorry. My Wi-Fi was acting up. I had to turn it off, but it kicked me off. My bad.
No, you're good. Okay, so I'll start it again. Okay, so this question comes from Liam O'Brien. He says he really wants to know what your fight plans are for the next 3 years.
Oh man, Liam is a dog. First of all, he's one of my good friends. He is uh, like one of the up and coming guys at 135 at our gym. I mean, like he puts it on pros. He's one of those guys. 2-0 right now. Just won his fight a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. And I was in his corner. Great guy, great friend. But my fight plans, man, it's really right staying right here where I'm at in BKFC. I mean, there's nowhere I'd rather be. I knew after my first fight, I knew that there's something very special here, and have never had that much fun. And it was scary, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and the stage is incredible. The staff is awesome, and I knew that. I'm 27 years old. I wouldn't say I'm young for the sport. Um, and this is where I want to be. Even though Brian always talks about the youth movement, I'm not one of those guys. I'm like, late 20s, but I guess that's still considered youth movement. But
Sure.
yeah, I want to be here. I mean, in the 1 year that I've been here, in November was my debut. I mean, it is. I was talking about this at the Philly trials. I mean, it's skyrocketed. The just maybe Connor buying it, or the different deals and marketing things that have been happening. I mean, it's like a whole nother promotion almost. It's the same at its core, but it is so all over the place like I've never seen before. I've never seen that much growth from any combat sport anywhere that ever that I've been alive.
it is crazy with it growing, like you said, but I feel like we're having some growing pains. There's communication. I feel like we don't have enough staff yet. And it's one of those, and I say we, I mean, I don't even work for the company. I'm just, but I mean, like talking, I feel like there's not enough communication. There's not enough staff. And hopefully, as it gets, a little bit bigger, like, they're able to fill in, because that's the one complaint I feel like a lot of people have, is the lack of communication and the inability to get fights as frequently as people would like.
Yeah, I mean the amount that the BKFC has grown in just the 1 year that I've seen it, I
Yeah.
could see how that could be like, oh yeah, I mean like you put an event on every single weekend. It feels like, um, and it just grows like that. To keep up with demand, I'm sure it's hard. And it seems like Dave is very loyal to his core group of people that he
Sure.
like those are his guys. So he started it with them, and I know he wants to finish it with them. And I think it's just par for the course. You know what I mean? It's going to be awesome. Somebody who's helped me out, I think that was brought on recently quite a bit, was Michael Vespa. He works with Dave quite frequently. And I mean, he has been such an aid to me, especially with like getting tickets, like getting everything squared away, just anything I need. I mean, he was there. I had a one-on-one with Dave maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, and Vespa was on there, so I guess it wasn't one-on-one; it was two-on-one. But and yeah, him and Liam Cullen were
Sure.
there, and it was just a super beneficial conversation. And he was like, "Hey, this is your guy. If you need anything, like go to Michael Vespa, and he'll help you out." And he has done. I mean, I couldn't even describe half the things he's done to help me out, especially with this card.
Mike is interesting because our first conversation between he and I, he was not happy with me, but we're in a much better place now. Like I had
Good.
rubbed him wrong on something, but yeah, we're much better. And we were working on some stuff, and then he had that hurricane that come through and kind of screwed up a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully, like he and I will be doing some stuff in the future. But yeah, he's a great guy, and Liam too is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, both of them have been so helpful. Of course, and like my team itself is so helpful, and my manager that knows the game very well, Scott Howard, he knows with Sucker Punch, he knows the game, of course, but just to have somebody, just an extra person. I mean, navigating this fight game is crazy, and I'm nowhere near seasoned. This will be my, I guess third pro fight with BKFC, fourth overall. So I'm still learning the ropes myself as well.
Okay, Liam O'Brien had a part two. He said, "Will we ever see you in the MMA cage again?"
Oh man, he would probably love me in the MMA cage again, just because we have such great rounds. Honestly, I don't have any plans. I don't have any plans. God could have other plans for my life, but right now I see BKFC as being the place where I want to stay for quite a while.
It's young and it's hot. Like MMA has gotten to the point where it's kind of getting MMA, like back in the day, was so raw and stuff, and it's kind of it's becoming more of a point fighting thing almost. You know what I mean? Like with the whole
Yeah.
hold people down and stuff. So the BKFC is just so young and hot, and I feel like it's definitely the way to go. So it makes total sense that you want to kind of pursue that. I think.
I mean, I'm at the MMA fights every single week, with cornering guys pretty much every week, twice or three times a month, cornering guys, helping out. And I've seen a ton of MMA fights, and I remember my first BKFC fight. I was in Orlando, and I came back, and I was saying hi to my dad, my girlfriend at the time, all these other people, saying what's up, and I'm like sitting there watching these fights, and I was like becoming a fan watching them. Like I was
Yeah.
like, this is awesome. And then the same thing happened. I was in LA last weekend with my fiance, and we went to the BKFC fights. And I'm like sitting there watching, and it's that small ring, and I'm just like, this is awesome. Like I'm like sitting there watching, like I'm becoming a fan every single time I watch a fight. Usually, I'm not watching many of the fights because I'm in the back. So I could see how people. I mean, everyone's been punched in the face. I know Dave says that all the time. Everyone's been punched in the face, so it's very relatable. It's like it's very fan friendly also. So I'm excited to be part of it.
Okay, this question comes from Alexander. I don't know his Veraz. Anyway, I don't
Yeah.
know his name for sure. He says, for Nathan Rivera, my question is, what kind of shampoo do you use to keep your hair looking so nice while you fight?
Oh, that's funny. He asked me that the other day in the gym. He's like, "What kind of shampoo do you use?" And I was like, "What?" Like, and now it's making sense. I don't know. I alternate, man. I got some one kind of healthy one, and then I use like every other day or every 2 days, I'll use a Head and Shoulders to make sure I don't get some dandruff or something like that.
You do have that nice hair. I got the bald going, but you have lovely hair. It looks good.
Dude, if I could shave it off and get it bald like yours, I would, but I don't think I would look great with that cut. So I appreciate it though.
Uh, all right, this one comes from one of your dear friends, Michael Larimore. He says you're a
Oh,
great
that's my.
homie of his, and he would like to know if you have picked out the sushi spot in Georgia for you guys to go eat at.
I picked it out. I got it. So I got one spot that I always go to. No, I mean, so I live in Buford, and I know you're not familiar with Georgia. I live in Buford, which is probably an hour from Marietta, and I always go to the same spot in Marietta. So I might have to change it up this time, and we can go to a different spot out this way because in Buford is like it has like definitely heavy like Asian culture and stuff like that here. So there's a lot of good food here. So I have narrowed it down to two spots that we're gonna go to.
I was watching your show and you said you were Filipino. Like, are you like big into the? You must be a big foodie, right? Is food important to you?
I'm a massive foodie. I in every single fight camp, I become more of a foodie. Like I was laying in bed last night, and I was talking to my fiance, and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna watch some food videos now." And she's like, "It's like 11:30. What do you want?" Like I just, especially when you can't eat it, I am a foodie. Yeah, and I mean, I was in LA, like I was saying, for my sister's wedding. Filipino family all over the place. We went and had so many good meals, and it was hard for me to just like a bite here, a bite there, but I got it done. Weight is still looking good. Everything's good, but yeah, I'm definitely a foodie.
Okay, it's kind of like Joy Boy. He's part Filipino too, and that's what he talks about. He said it's the hardest part is because he loves to eat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so like for me, like I don't have many vices. You know what I mean? Like I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I go to work. I go to the gym and I spend time with my fiance, and that's pretty much what I do. So whenever like there's a new like okay, put it this way, like when Crumble Cookie drops their weekly list, I'm
Yeah.
on it checking it. So like yeah, that's my thing. I think especially in camp.
Are you a good cook yourself, or like is that not really your forte? You're more of an eater.
I mean, I'm more of an eater. I mean, so it's funny because like my fiance, she'll be like making this exquisite salad with all these different things, and I have like rice and meat, and I can eat that for like my entire life. It's like whenever I cook, I'm pretty set. I am sponsored by Icon Meals, and they provide me with some incredible meals. It has like, all the calories all up on it. It has the macros on it, the protein, the carbs, like everything you need. So those are really good in a pinch when I don't want to make anything. But I'm definitely the kind of guy that I'm like, let's go pick up some good food.
How important is it? Like, I mean, do you cut a lot of weight? Like, it sounds like that's very beneficial to have like a food company that sponsors you. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean it's a game changer. I mean it's incredible. The sponsors that I have, just to name a few, like Barber Orthopedics, the Mortgage Godfather, Delashment Law Firm, Priceless Nutrition. Like these people, they help me so much throughout my camp. But having a food sponsor is incredible because um, like time is money, especially in camp. Time is money. So when I am getting home from practice at 10:30, or 9:30, then I shower. Next thing you know, it's 10:30 and you haven't made any meals. That
Yeah.
cuts into your recovery time. That cuts into a lot of things. So having something where I can take it, throw it in my lunchbox or throw it in the microwave and go is a game changer.
Okay, this question comes from Rogerio Morales Gonzalez, I believe, or Rodrigo. Rogerio, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Um, he would like to know how many more fights will it take before you are the face of the BKFC?
I mean, depending who you ask, I'm the face of the BKFC now. When I turn on the BKFC, I think I'm the face. I think it'll take a few more. I'm one of those guys that's like, I'll take it when it comes. I'm not trying to rush anything. I know that I'm fresh. I'm fresh on the scene. It's been a little over a year. I've had two fights. Like, not many people know who I am, so I'm just gonna keep taking these fights one by one. And if it's meant for me to be the face of the BKFC, which I think I am, then it'll be, and I think it will be pretty soon.
So I corner Tommy Stridham, another 145er. Our frustration right now is it seems like everybody in the top five doesn't want to fight anybody. They either, like you've got James Brown. He went up to 155 to fight Howard Davis, who moved up to 55, and then Brian Duran is fighting somebody who's not ranked inside. So is there any frustration? Like I'm sure you want to keep moving up, and he wants to keep moving up. Like how do you get these top five guys to start like fighting people and make it more competitive for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so if there's not a lot of I guess there's not a lot of pros to fight somebody who's not in the top five if you are in the top five,
Sure.
right? So for me, I'm like, I would love it. They're like, I just worked to get here. Why would I want to risk that, especially with somebody who has a lot of skill. So I kind of understand why some people would be like, I'm just going to keep climbing. But after this fight, I've talked to my manager, and something I've been asking for probably a year is like, I want a lot of these undefeated guys. Like I
Sure.
have a lot of names that I would like to just start knocking off the list, because I think that's how I get to that top five. I'm not really going after the top five like that, because I feel like it would be barking up a tree that is just like, maybe they'll be willing, but the BKFC might not want to do it. I'm not really sure. So I'm just like,
Sure.
okay, I'll stay in my lane for right now. And when that time comes, I'm taking all of them out.
I certainly don't feel like it's at every weight class, but 45, 55, and 65, I feel like they'd be better off doing like a top 10 because there is enough fighters. Like I said, 75 is kind of lacking, 85 is kind of lacking, but like those lighter weights, there is quite a few of you that are undefeated, and I feel like if you're
Yeah.
at least oh, okay, I'm 8, now I'll fight like a number 6, it gives you a little bit of motivation versus you're going like, I don't know who I'm fighting. Justin Street's a tough opponent, but I mean, I don't know that he necessarily puts you up in the top 5, is what I'm saying too.
Right. Right. I mean, I I think that the unified top five all across the board looks good for the company, but I do agree, like 45 is stacked. I mean,
Yeah.
the fighters in 45 specifically, I think that's the most stacked division, in my opinion.
Sure.
More so than 55 and 65, in my opinion. I mean, there's just so many guys, that you could make matchups for days. I mean, you could have a card, honestly, of 45ers, and it would be an incredible card. I love the idea of like a tournament for 45, just for 45. Like some of these bigger weight classes, a tournament sounds so cool to me. Like a 45 tournament, a 55 tournament, and a 65 tournament. I think that would bring in a lot of eyeballs. And, that's just my 2 cents. I'm no matchmaker, but I think I agree with you that it's it's stacked. There's killers all around.
So you're hearing the stuff about the $25 million tournament coming up, but I was one of those. I think it'd be great if they could do like a $10 million tournament at 3 weight classes, say 45, 75, and like 205, 215, somewhere in there. Like because I mean, like a guy like yourself, 145. Say they do it at heavyweight, you're clearly not going to go up to fight. So it's kind of unfortunate. Like you could be, miss out on this tournament. I would love to see them like do 3 $10 million tournaments and like give you guys kind of a chance to prove yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be cool with 1 million. I'd be cool with 500,000. I'd be cool. I'd be cool with 250,000.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, like, those separations would be really cool. But I wonder. I'm so curious because I know they want to branch out to different organizations and like take some of the best from all these other organizations. And I think, as a business standpoint, I think that's such a good idea. I mean, that's a head turner. Just a one little snippet video, it kind of turned the whole combat sports world on its head. $25 million tournament. So I'm really excited to see what comes from that.
I have no insider knowledge, but to me, it seems like it's got to be either 205 or heavyweight because that's where like like a lot of the names are as those weights. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. I mean, I know there's just some crazy 85 or 70ers too. Just all around. I know there's some great guys.
Okay, so this question comes from Knucklehead. He's the guy on Instagram who posts all the knockout videos. He's on the Reddit. He posted it. He says, "How does your style match up against Kai? Do you see needing to evolve going forward?"
uh, I think. Well, if what does he mean evolve? Do I need to evolve? Like as far as for the Kai fight, or just in general in my game?
I don't know. He didn't say, but it's one of those
Okay.
like I assume it. Do you need to evolve anything? Kai's just such a weird, unorthodox fighter.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you'd have to change up a little bit of something. But
Yeah, I mean, I think every single fight gets done, and I say to myself, all right, time to evolve, time to get better. You know what I mean? But to fight Kai specifically, it's a weird style. I just see the same looks in the gym every day.
sure.
And I'm sure everyone said that, but I train at American Top Team Lima, where there's not boxers. Like I don't consider myself a boxer. I've had a lot of amateur MMA fights and boxing fights, like USA boxing fights, but I consider myself like a fighter, and I'm surrounded by MMA fighters, so I see that same look every single day. So I'm not saying it would be an easy fight, but I think it'd be a great fight stylistically for me.
Dustin Street's not a name that people are like, wow, that guy's amazing, but he's absolute dog. He held in there against
Yeah.
Ibarola. I mean, he had a great win. He's a tough guy. I'm really excited to see you fight somebody who's more durable and who like will actually, give you a bit of a challenge. And I think this is going to be actually a great fight.
Yeah, I think what you just said there is is hitting the nail on the head. Durable is the first word that I think of whenever I see him fight. I mean, he's tough. He's tough as nails. He fought, at 25 a lot. He fought at 35, and he's obviously just down to fight. You know what I mean? And anybody that has as many fights as he does, and the experience that he has, and is as durable as him with a great gas tank, is a problem. So I'm definitely not taking him lightly. I know my first fight, I fought somebody who was 0-0 when I was 0-0, or I'm sorry, he was 0-1. The second fight was someone who was 0-0, and I was 1-0. And then now I'm 2-0, and I'm fighting someone who's 1-1 with a lot of combat sports experience outside of the squared circle. So I like how I'm getting like progressively tougher opponents as I go on, so that I can keep proving to myself and to everyone else that this is where I belong.
I do feel like you're one of the guys that's doing it right. You see some of these guys and they're undefeated and they're fighting people that are making their debuts and they're 4-5. And you're one of those guys. And I know you don't have a ton of pro experience. So like a lot of people would be like, oh, you need to fight somebody with more experience, but you are also going into your fourth fight. So it's one of those things, like it kind of makes sense if you're fighting somebody who's 1-0 or 2-0. So like I said, I feel like you're doing it the right way. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why a lot of people can get behind you.
Yeah. And I mean, Nate shook. If I'm surprised he hasn't blocked me. Before I got a manager, I was like, so what I would do is I would watch I would look at every card. I would watch film on every single 45er and every single 55er. And I would just wait and tell Nate, hey, if this, or this person drops out, I'm there.
Sure.
Ready to make the weight. There, I'm already studied up on it. Like, I'm ready to go. And I mean, I was asking him for like a lot of undefeated guys, because I just wanted to cement myself. So, I guess I've been kind of on that mindset for a while. And my coaches are like, no, you're doing the right thing. But in my head, I'm thinking to myself, oh, God, I'm glad it's playing out like this, because I was not trying to do the right thing, I guess.
Okay, so this question literally just came in from Beto Vargas. He says Nathan
Oh,
Rivera
beta.
is the future of BKFC. He has a mindset that any promoter needs. Where is the charisma and very flowish style coming from?
Beto's the homie. Beto's the homie. He's over at the gym. He works at the gym. He trains at the gym. He's a good friend. Man, I think it's probably just from being with all these guys at the gym. These killers that push me every day. Having a lot of amateur boxing experience helped me out quite a bit. Having MMA experience and just being confident in who I am is, and I think that's another thing, is like staying true to who I am. There's a lot of people that will say, you got to talk shit to be a big name, or you got to do this, you got to do that. I just have to stay true to who I am, and it's played a great, it's been very helpful in my career to just be who I am and just have that confidence to move forward.
Joe Hitman is a very intimidating looking guy, but he's also like the sweetest guy ever. Like he said he loves strong, like, passionate guys. Like, do you have a fun Joe story that you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple. I told one on Socia's show the other day. My MMA coach cleared me to have an MMA fight, and I looked up NFC, that's the local fight scene, and I looked up like just the first thing that was there. I clicked on it. And it was Joe just getting a disgusting like knockout of a big name, and I was like, this guy's crazy. Then I go train with him, and then I remember one time, I think it was the first time I met him, he like backspin sidekicked me in my stomach. I was like 19. I was like, oh my god. I was like on the ground. I remember, he probably doesn't even remember it, but I just remember his heel going entirely through my body, and I was like, that sucked. And then I watched, it's so funny. It's full circle. I picked up tickets from him because his wife is helping like distribute tickets for this Georgia
Sure.
show. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is so crazy. The first time I ever watched BKFC was his fight on YouTube during quarantine. And I was just like, this is a funny moment for me. So yeah, I mean, Joe is the man. He's a heart of gold. He's a great dude.
I hope that Georgia people realize like how much he like tried to get BKFC legal, and he was going to the meetings, and him and Dave and all the lawyers and stuff, like they tried so hard. And then the fact it took almost a year before it actually, you guys got to put on a show. Like, is that the goal from the start though? When you first came to BKFC, was you wanted to fight in Georgia?
I just wanted to fight. I mean, fighting in Georgia is awesome. Of course, like my friends and family can come out, but I just wanted to fight. And I remember when it became legal, I was like annoying in Nate's inbox, like, "Hey, man, I know BKFC's people on the athletic commission that were like homies, so they were kind of giving me updates." And I was just like, it's legal. We could do this venue, we could do this venue. I was just kind of all over the place. So I'm glad it's legal now. But one thing that I want to reiterate, like again, like live, is that I don't want to be just a Georgia fighter. And I flew to Philly to tell Dave that, like, I was like, hey man, I don't know if you're planning to come back to Georgia, but I don't want to be just the Georgia fighter. Like, I want to fight around. I want to fight 4 or 5 times next year. And if we can make that happen, I'm not asking this crazy money. I'm not asking for this Mike Perry money right now. I have 2 fights in the game, but you know, I know that will come. I just want to fight. So it's the goal to fight here, of course, but the goal is just to fight.
Okay, Beto just said once more. He said, "What BKFC fighter does Nathan Rivera look up to when it comes to pro boxers and marketing/fight style?"
Hmm. Let's see. Pro boxers. I mean, Manny Pacquiao is, of course, like the top of the list for me, just from my Filipino heritage.
Sure.
And I grew up watching Manny Pacquiao with my dad. We'd go to different restaurants or bars or friends' house and watch Manny Pacquiao. And something I really admire about him, which I think I was drawn to him for this, of course, other than his fighting skills. A, he's Filipino. B, his skill, and then C, is his. He's just the same guy. He is who he is, and he's a man of God, and he is very in touch with his morals, and he's not one of those guys that's in your face screaming crazy. He knows who he is, and that's something that I aspire to be every single day, is just get to know myself more.
It's weird how boxers don't do very good in BKFC. I mean, you have Austin Trout who's doing fantastic, but there's so many boxers who are like so much more finesse, and BKFC is not. It's fighting. It's not boxing. And
Right.
it seems like they really struggle with, like I said, I don't know. It's not clearly not a skill issue, but it's like they don't like the dirty boxing. There's something about it they don't like, and so they struggle.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something that going into this, I felt like a big boost of confidence, that I had all this MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Like, I knew how to maneuver um, in the clinch, and I knew what would cause a separation. I knew what would not, and studying up on the rules really helped me. And then my coach Brantley Furr, he's a mastermind. I mean, there's no stone unturned in the training sessions that we have. And I mean, I feel so prepared working with him for anything, like for fighting. It's very fight specific. I don't have like a old school boxing coach that is like trying to make BKFC fit boxing, and I don't have an MMA coach that's trying to make MMA fit BKFC or whatnot. I have a coach that is, we're making it work.
Okay, Beto says, last question. What is your ultimate goal?
Man, my goal is just to retire my fiance first and retire myself second, and eventually open a gym one day. Stay around the sport as long as I can. But that's the goal for right now. Is just the immediate goal. I have a lot of big goals in my life, but the immediate goal is to make enough money to where I can have my fiance quit her job, and then have be able to quit my job and just fight full time.
So if your fiance travels a lot with you and everything, like, I mean, how great is it that you can do that? I mean, she like, it seems like she actually is really interested in the BKFC, and I think that's great. There's so many wives that like want no part of that, but she seems to be drawn to it.
Yeah, I mean, she's the best. If I was like, hey, I'm really passionate about water polo, and I want to start a career, she'd be at every meet with me or game. Fighting, I'm sure it's hard for her to sometimes. I'm sure her heart's beating out of her chest, but she's like, hey, you know what you're doing, and you're good at it, so let's keep it rolling. She's a huge part of the team, and in my support system.
Okay, so let me ask you this about her. So Dustin Pegg's wife has to stay in the hotel and she can't watch. Dave Mundell's wife will get in fights with people that talk shit to Dave Mundell while he's in the ring. How does your fiance? What camp is she in?
she's she's a happy medium. she's
Okay.
she's right. She's not, she wants to be there. She would never miss one. Um and but I don't know if she's swinging on anybody. She's got some bangers. I mean, she's got some hands. We hold pads. I hold pads for her sometimes, and she used to take my kickboxing classes when I would coach them a lot at the gym. But no, she hasn't swung on anyone yet. But I mean, we're only 2 fights in, so there's some time for that.
It's curious because we're seeing more and more couples that do BKFC. Is there any interest in being a fighter? Like Kamozi's wife or his Kamozi's girlfriend, she, does like the boxing. You got like some of the BKFC ring girls are started getting into the boxing and have aspirations of fighting. Like, is that something she's interested in or no?
No, no, thank God, because I mean, I one is stressful enough. I think both of us. I think both of our parents would just lose their mind. And I mean, she's she does triathlons and she's a monster. So in her field, so I don't think she has any desire to fight. Thankfully.
Okay, my last question is I always ask people the first time I interview them. What do you remember the first time you were in a street fight? The first time you punched somebody out of anger, like elementary school, sometime like that.
Yeah, I do actually. It was little scuffles here and there, but a big one that I went into. I remember I was in someone's backyard, and the first thing I ever threw wasn't a punch. Actually, it was like a round kick to someone's head. Just like just like going up when we were kids. You know what I mean? And yeah, that kind of kicked it off. And then there was definitely some tussling going on.
Awesome. Is there any messages or anything you have for anybody before we call it a night?
Man, it's so hard to take credit. Like you asked me about all these accomplishments that I've made. It's hard to take credit for those. I'm blessed, and God's really had His favor on my life and on my career. So it's hard to take credit. And I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful for this interview. I would say keep your eyes peeled before, during, and after my fight, because there's going to be fireworks all around.
And then I heard you're working on something cool. That's the one of the things I loved about you is the note thing. So I heard there's going to be something fun. Like if everything goes your way, there's going to be something fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the Rivera era, is that before, during, and after, you can't take your eyes off the screen, or you got to be at the event. So there's definitely something cool planned.
I think it's great that you got the Rivera era. It's so catchy now, and it looks great on the posters and everything. Like it's such a kick-ass little phrase.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's just man, it was said once and it stuck. So that's where we're at now.
All right, man. Well, good luck, get your win, and we look forward to interviewing you again. Thanks so much, and have a great night.
Awesome. Thank you very much, brother.
See you, bud. Bye.